there, welcome into the show. My name is Chase Sr., and you're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Thank you so much for clicking on today's show and hanging out here with me. Coming up, some surprising changes made to the Niners depth chart in the aftermath of the 2025 NFL Draft, in particular on the defensive side of the ball, with all of the moves that the Niners made in the draft thanks to the influence from Robert Saleh. First, let's start off with this. A lot of you like to play Madden. You're very familiar with Madden ratings. And oftentimes, it's individual Madden ratings that garners a lot of attraction and talk. But for the purpose of today's show, I want to do it on a team basis. How would you grade the Niners roster right now as a whole? Scale it for me 1 to 100. 1, worst roster in the NFL. 100, the best, elite. Let me know down in the comments section. At the quarterback spot, Brock Purdy is still going to be QB1. I like the acquisition of Mac Jones in free agency. He is a Kyle Shanahan type of quarterback who has not been in an advantageous, ideal offensive situation to start his NFL career, both with the Patriots and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that you'll see Mac Jones in the preseason play like he did at Alabama, where he plays fast, makes quick decisions, knows where to go with the football, and that's what Kyle Shanahan wants from his quarterbacks. The question here is QB3, and I don't think the Niners hold on to 4 quarterbacks for the opening 53. I think they have 3. And Tanner Mordecai and Curtis Rourke out of Indiana are going to be duking it out in training camp and in the preseason. 2 vastly different players. Mordecai is shorter, much more mobile, with 4.4 speed, and for his lack of size, he does spin it pretty well. Curtis Rourke, on the other hand, who some people call Maple Jordan because he's from Canada, he's bigger. He's not mobile at all. He's older. He's been injured a lot. He is tough as nails. He is an old-school throwback type of pocket passer who can layer balls in and throws with good touch and accuracy. He can lead his receivers. He can push the ball downfield. And so 2 vastly different quarterbacks as far as styles and body type between Mordecai and Rourke. And those reps are going to be interesting to watch prior to the season. Brock Purdy, I imagine that deal is going to get done at some point. I hope it's soon, so that Brock Purdy can be on hand for training camp without there being contract drama, without there being a holdout. He was there for OTAs going into draft week. That's a positive sign. And I think he gets paid between $50 and $54 million. That is my prediction. To the running back spot, you have Christian McCaffrey, Isaac Guerendo. Of course, Kyle Juszczyk is the fullback. As RB3, the Niners did decide to bring back Patrick Taylor. I think he's best suited to be a special teams player and a good one. But then you have Jordan James, who you took in the 5th round out of Oregon. You have Israel Abanikanda, who was a decorated player in college at Pitt and then was a little bit of a disappointment and couldn't really get carries for the New York Jets. You have Corey Kiner, who analytically was one of the best performing running backs in college football last year, who has contact balance, a low center of gravity, who is also an old school type of running back with his ability to run you over and pick up tough yards. And so we'll see how many running backs the Niners carry on the 53. I would imagine it's going to be 3 or 4. And I think Jordan James is going to be one of those 4. Who will be the 4th? Some intriguing options there for sure. For Christian McCaffrey, if he can stay healthy, it will do wonders for this Niners offense. Him missing last year led to the Niners being so Jekyll and Hyde on offense, lacking so much rhythm. And I think on 3rd downs and in the red zone, they were particularly bad without CMC. His impact, his versatility was certainly missed, and hopefully he can stay healthy just because he is one of the most dynamic, electrifying players in the entire National Football League. The wide receiver position is also one that's very interesting with some question marks going into 2025. We're not sure when the heck Brandon Ayuk is going to come back. A lot of conflicting reports about if he can come back for week 1, if not midway through the season. Ricky Pearsall showed some signs of life in the last month. I really like what he did. Still think he was a reach in the first round 2 drafts ago, but good route runner, good footwork, and he lives up to the name. Slick Rick for sure. Juwan Jennings had nearly 1,000 yards receiving. He is not a speedster by any means, but a good route runner, a technician who can come down with 50-50 balls, always coming through on 3rd down and 4th down. That's why they call him 3rd and Juwan, the ultimate clutch player who has a really good connection with Brock Purdy. Outside of that, you have Demarcus Robinson, who was really good last year, very productive. He's been in the playoffs every year. He's been in the NFL. He might get suspended, though, the first 3 games because of a DUI violation. You have Russell Gage, who's well-traveled. You have Jordan Watkins, who you took in the NFL draft, who has 4.3 speed and was very explosive last year for Ole Miss. Jacob Cowing has to take a big leap. Tariq Owens, the Niners are a fan of him. And so there are a ton of wide receivers on this team. But what is going to be the order, top 5, top 6? And, of course, when is Brandon Ayuk going to come back? And can he return to being close to the player who he was in 2023 when he was the 2nd highest graded wide receiver in the game, according to Pro Football Focus, and he was the 2nd-team All-Pro? The Niners locking up George Kittle on that contract extension. They sorely missed that blocking tight end 2 last year because they didn't have Ross Dwelly or Charlie Warner. Luke Farrell is that guy. The original reports were that he was going to get a lot of guaranteed money, and then the contract came out, and you're like, all right, that's feasible. Look out for Mason Pline to climb up the depth chart. He could get that tight end 3 spot, a former basketball player who I just think has a lot more promise compared to Braden Willis, Jake Tonches, a good special teams player last year. And for George Kittle, yeah, he's going to be 32 years old in October, but he's still playing insanely elite football. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Best all-around tight end in the NFL. Brock Bowers doesn't block like he does. And he's really come alive with Brock Purdy. And if you're going to lock up Brock Purdy, it makes sense to lock up George Kittle, an all-time Niner, best tight end in franchise history, and he's on a Hall of Fame track right now. The offensive line, I've gone on many rants over the last few years in covering this football team on this offensive line. We're not really sure what the starting lineup is going to look like at left guard, maybe even center. At left guard, I expect it to be a competition between Ben Barch, Nick Zakelj, Spencer Burford, and Connor Colby. Spencer Burford could also be looked at as a backup offensive tackle. The Niners making a signing earlier this week, DJ Humphries, who's 31 years old, a former first-round pick and Pro Bowler. They badly needed offensive tackle depth and a swing tackle, and so I do like that pickup. But at left guard, center, or right tackle, I just don't think you are at a spot and in a spot where you're elite enough or good enough to compete against some of the top defensive lines in football. Yes, at times you can scheme around that, but in some really big games, this offensive line has been exposed. And with Trent Williams, was in the building for OTAs. When we were at the NFL Combine late February going into March, General Manager John Lynch did say he is going to play this year. He's been injured a lot of late, and he's, of course, getting older, 37 years old, and the play has been declining a little bit. Now, declining for Trent Williams is crazy because his numbers are still very, very elite. But you're hoping that he can stay healthy and productive because if he gets hurt, it could be rough in the trenches. Popular question this week. Since we're talking about the big boys up front along the offensive line, this has been a very popular pop culture question on social media. Who wins in a fight? 100 men against one gorilla? Let me know. M for men, G for gorilla. I'm going gorilla. They are athletic freaks, athletic specimens. Their athleticism and strength is unbelievable. And if you tick them off, which 100 men would, I'm going with the gorilla. And I think that stamina, jumping ability, size, explosion, quickness, I feel like I'm talking about an NFL prospect. The gorilla would win. Let me know, though. Michael Williams jerseys are available, by the way. We're about to talk about the defensive side of the rock. Get yours today at chatsports.com/49jersey. If you didn't like that pick or you just want another Niners jersey, plenty of jerseys available. Thanks to our friends at Fanatics. All you have to do, plug in that link down below, chatsports.com/49jersey. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey. You get the old school 1994 throwbacks. You get the home reds, the road whites. You can also get past players too. Some Niner greats like Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott. We'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's Niners report, depth chart breakdown, chatsports.com/49jersey. To defense. I'm rolling with this starting defensive line up front because I think these are the best options and these are the best players who Robert Saleh, Kyle Shanahan, and John Lynch can roll with week 1. I am starting 3 rookies along the defensive line. Mykel Williams is my defensive end for the start of the regular season. And then flanking him, I want C.J. West at one defensive tackle spot and Alfred Collins at the other, with Nick Bosa manning the other defensive end spot. I think that Mykel Williams is a natural fit to be a 4-3 defensive end. Georgia didn't always use him that way. That was Williams' explanation for why the production was down. But at his size, length, physicality, power, he is going to be able to stop the run right away. And I think that he can build upon his pass rush arsenal, and what a great player to learn from in Nick Bosa. And then with C.J. West and Alfred Collins, those are athletic freaks at those defensive tackle spots. C.J. West is better than Jordan Elliott. Alfred Collins is better than Evan Anderson or Kevin Givens. I want to see what these players can do right from the jump. Now, the good news is you addressed the defensive line multiple times in this draft. And so now your depth pieces become a little bit better. Yetur Gross-Matos, Sam Okuanu at defensive end. We'll see if Drake Jackson can get healthy. Robert Beal Jr. We'll see if he can actually do anything. And then the depth at defensive tackle is now better with Jordan Elliott, with Kevin Givens, with Evan Anderson, and Kalia Davis. And so with the Niners, I believe hitting on this draft class along this defensive line, that unit has gone from being a bottom 5 unit pre-draft to a really promising defensive line post-draft. And you're just better as a football team starting those rookies. They have NFL bodies ready to play. They're all experienced players from the college level. And so that might be a surprise to some, but that's what I'm doing. And that's what the Niners should do, in my opinion. Start developing these players right from the jump and give them snaps. And you can rotate them in and out with veterans who are already on your team. To the linebacker position, I think that Nick Martin can start. Will it be at Will? Will it be at Sam? I think he's going to compete for one of those spots. Fred Warner is going to man the middle, and this becomes a pretty impressive and intriguing linebacking core at that second level. Fred Warner, All-Pro Fred, best off-ball linebacker in the game. But now you have D Winners, who we've seen the flashes of the Azeez Al-Shire, Dre Greenlaw type of play style because of the speed, the physicality, him flying around sideline to sideline that he plays with. Sometimes he has to harness that aggression because it takes him out of a play when he over-pursues. But that mentality is what you want. Nick Martin plays a lot like that. And so now the Niners have this collection of athleticism, speed, physicality, some coverage skills, and blitzing skills with those young players in Winners and Martin. Luke Gifford is a really good special teamer. You can use him from time to time as depth. You have Tatum Bethune. You have Jalen Graham. And so this is why the Niners went so defensive heavy in this draft. I think they should have gone offensive line a little bit more. But by going so heavy defensively, this defense has gone from a major question mark to one that I can't wait to watch. At corner, I think you stick with Deommodore Lenoir and Renardo Green on the outside. Lenoir primarily started to play outside corner late in the year. Renardo Green is an outside corner, and as a rookie, he played very well. And Upton Stout is my starting slot nickel corner ahead of Trey Brown. I really like Upton Stout's game. The Niners, in drafting these players, They have drafted these young players who all are good against the run, all play a Niner type of style defensively, as far as, again, the play speed, the aggression, the physicality, coming up to the line, making plays there. Upton Stout is 4'4". He can run very, very well. And so that is my cornerback room here as far as this Niner corner depth chart. Your starters, Lenore, Green, Upton Stout. Todd McShay loves that Upton Stout pick. He said some of the stickiest coverage I saw in the pre-draft from Upton Stout. At safety, this could be a weakness to start the year because of that ACL injury to Malik Mustafa. So you see the note down there. We have him as hurt. I'm going to go with Jason Pinnock as the starting safety alongside Jair Brown just because he's much more experienced. Marcus Siegel is a converted safety from that corner spot. The Niners did add Richie Grant, a former second or third round pick by the Atlanta Falcons in free agency. George Odom, still a really good special teamer. Jalen Mahoney, I don't think is worthy of being on a 53-man roster. And so that third level, you do have some concerns there going into the season because of that injury to Mustafa, and Jair Brown did not play well last year. So there's a lot of pressure on him to improve here in year 3. And I think with better coaching, led by Robert Saleh, I think he's going to be able to do that. And I ask you this to round out the show. Another note that I have too is that another emphasis for the Niners this offseason has been special teams. There are a lot of really solid special teams players now on this team for Brant Boyer to work with. Whereas last year, the coaching was bad, and there wasn't a lot of talent or depth as far as that third phase of the game. So I round out with this. Will the Niners make the playoffs this year with this revamped roster? P for playoffs, C for 1, 2, 3 Cancun.